a person's business. All of a sudden, economic development becomes possibly an economic hardship if that storefront is not easy to get to anymore. That's why the decisions made here and at all levels of politics are so very important. And that's why our special guests this evening will enlighten us about what they see as the future for small business, medium business, and large businesses in our region. City Hall, County Courthouse, state capitals, our nation's capital. The most important place in the room, though, is right here at the podium. This is where you get to tell them what you think is important. We'll find out more on In Business with Almanac North. Let's get started. Welcome to In Business with Almanac North. I'm Ken Buehler. Tonight, we're taking a closer look at the recent elections and what they mean for our region's businesses. We'll sit down with newly elected city council members and a political science professor from UMD to learn about their new roles and how they plan to impact the local economy. We'll also take a look at the new right to repair law and dig into some fun election history. But first, we talked to Mayor Roger Reinert, and he gave us his view of the upcoming year and the opportunities facing the council as it relates to economic development.
Hi everyone, I'm Mayor Roger Reinert, City of Duluth. Welcome Councilors Desotelle and Johnson, as well as Councilor Klana, who I know is not in the program tonight. The work that we have to do together in this coming year really is about Duluth's next chapter. As we think about what arguably is our single biggest need in the community, it's housing. It's housing at all the income levels. It's housing in all the neighborhoods. We know from our recent Maxfield study that we need to reach 9,000 or more housing units by the year 2035. That's housing at scale, not 10 or 20 a year, but hundreds a year. We know from our employers that they can't hire because we don't have the workforce, and we don't have the workforce because we don't have the housing. So finding a location within our geographic boundaries is going to be key in order to meet that housing need. And getting that inventory on market means that everything becomes more affordable for those who have existing homes or are looking to buy or relocate to our community, which we're increasingly see happening. And then, of course, another thing that is really land related is focusing on developing our commercial tax base. 34% of Duluth's general fund revenue is local government aid, money that we receive from the state of Minnesota. And having served in the legislature, it's the most political money out there. And should we see a substantial cut in that, we will see real reduction in city services. So how do we account for that? We grow our own tax base. And in Minnesota, commercial pays about double what residential does. So when we grow our commercial tax base, we not only help keep city revenues more stable so we can deliver on the services that our residents expect from us, but also reduce the tax burden on our residential homeowners.
This is In Business with Almanac North. Thank you, Mary Reinert. Join us now to talk more about recent elections and what it means for the local businesses and the communities we live in. Jordon Johnson is with us. He is Duluth City Councilor at Large elect. Diane Desotelle is with the Duluth City Council in District Number 2. And Cindy Rugeley is a political science professor from UMD. Dr. Rugeley and everyone, thank you for joining us, and we appreciate you being here. I'm going to start with you, Councilor-elect Desotelle. And if you could, the mayor said some nice things about economic development, and one of the challenges being housing. How there's jobs, but we're having a hard time attracting the people that are going to fill those jobs because housing is difficult. So as we look at the way this goes, we've got emerging neighborhoods that are becoming very popular and very successful in Lakeside. We have the Lincoln Park Craft District. At the same time, though, we have to have a vital downtown that's vibrant and alive. And is it possible, and how do we do it, to have all of that?
Yeah, thanks for that question. I mean, I think of the city of Duluth. It's 17 miles long, and we're really a city within many cities that combine together. And each of these separate little communities, it's really important to have small businesses close by that meet the basic services we need. But downtown is where we connect socially, where our arts is, where our bigger businesses are, where tourists come, and where even folks from the region come. So they need to all connect closely and well. And we have some work to do downtown, but I'm optimistic.
Council-elect Johnson, business thrives on stability, and let's face it, we're not really in a stable time. We business would prefer at least a planned change, or dependable change, because change is inevitable, of course. But I'm wondering, from your point of view, what can the city of Duluth do, and you as a city councilor, to bring more stability perceived to our business community?
Yeah, I appreciate the question, and we are living in uncertain times for sure. But in those times, there's also a lot of possibility that emerges. And if we think about how we are talking about the current situation, our current status, also let's look at our stakeholders. Who are our stakeholders who are driving the economy? How can we build a long-term kind of environment and society of well-being and a culture of care within our community at this time? And that drives the economy. Sometimes we don't think about those pieces around economic growth, but when people are healthy and engaged and being out and about in the community, that is what brings kind of fruitfulness into our economic revenue.
You're in the social services business and as a nonprofit. Do you think Duluth has a good nonprofit sector that can, as you say, what you just said, about nurturing businesses?
Duluth has a phenomenal nonprofit sector in all areas of kind of the sectors that we need to be caring about. And many of them work really well together, having been in that kind of field and still am in that field of practice. And I think that also kind of is a testimony of how you come together, particularly in these times of working together to figure out how to lean on each other. Also, how do we co-create something that we want to see that might not have been there before? So really, this is a time, I think, if we shift our frame of thinking to think, what's really possible for the city of Duluth, and what do we want to create for our future generations?
That all speaks, of course, to the stability that I was talking about. Let's take a look at the election itself. We're a little over a week past it. But Dr. Rugeley is here from UMD. She's a political science professor. And one of the things about this past election was that we had one of the highest turnouts as far as percentage of voters in any of the last three off-year elections, shall we say. And Dr. Rugeley, my question to you now is, why was that?
I think there was a couple of factors at play. One is sitting at the other end of the table, we had 2 open seat races, and whenever you have open seats, voters turn out because there's interest in all the candidates. And the second is that you can't deny it was the right to repair bill. It turned out a lot of voters that perhaps would not have voted regularly, voters who are least likely to vote are voters who are younger, more transient, and those are exactly the people that probably had strong opinions about right to repair.
They did a wonderful job of grassroots organizing, don't you think?
They did do a great job with it. In many respects, I thought this has been a very quiet election. I mean, city elections are always different because they're door knocking and bean dinners and things like that. But this one in particular, and I think that, that it probably benefited a lot of candidates in that, the right to repair groups also tended to support, candidates that lean more favorably toward it. And so again, I think it was a good grassroots organization, and I think the turnout was excellent, and whenever that happens, it's good.
Well, that of course is true, and Duluth's new right to repair has been passed, overwhelmingly I might add. So let's take a look at just what does that mean?
My name is Chloe Holloway. I'm a renter in District 2, and I've been a member of Duluth Tenants for about a year now. Duluth Tenants is an organization of Duluth renters who, are advocating for renters' rights and building renter power in Duluth. Right to Repair got started, first of all, issue cutting, door knocking, and surveys to figure out what Duluth renters need the most. And through the door knocking and the surveys, we heard back that repairs are a huge, huge issue in Duluth. Right to Repair passing means that we can take care of small issues like a leak in your kitchen pantry before they become health hazards or safety hazards. So the landlord, they have 2 weeks to respond to our maintenance requests, and then if nothing is done in those 2 weeks, then we get to take care of it ourselves.
This is In Business with Almanac North. Thank you for joining us. I'm going to go back to you, Dr. Rugeley. Is there anything we can take from the election here in our region, let's just expand beyond Duluth a little bit, but that we could maybe transfer into something that we might be looking at for, say, the midterms next year?
Yeah, I mean, one of the issues in this election is affordability and rights of citizens. I mean, I think that a lot of people feel like their voices aren't being heard, particularly in regards to the economy and prices. And I think that was an important issue, and I think that it's something that, yeah, I think that if I was running in a midterm election, I'd certainly be concerned about it. Another thing, and it wasn't so evident in this election because, you know, it was 2 open seats, but incumbents might have a tough time.
We'll look for that next year, and we'll see if that passes as it says. I'm going to turn to our elected city councilors now, councilors-elect, and obviously the name of this program is In Business with Almanac North. So I'll start with you, Jordon. What do you think is something that you can bring to the city council or that you would like to see the city do that would help economic development? And you can take any level you want, whether it's a small business or a medium or a large international.
Yeah, I think we have all those facets of our in our economy and in our area in regards to international and medium and small local businesses. And so for me, I really want to lift up and leverage our local businesses. I think there's a lot of opportunities, particularly in the downtown area, where we can kind of help local businesses thrive, be part of future storefronts, get people out walking on the streets. And I think also taking an asset-based community development approach is an important way to start to think around how do we build out, lean into and looking within what we have here in our community that we can kind of build upon. I think also I asked the question, what do we want to attract to the city of Duluth? Who are the businesses we want to attract, the investors, and how are those investors going to invest in our community along the way? And so those are the pieces that I think I can bring forward and provide a different perspective in thinking around health is really important to community development, right? When people are healthy, they're out, engaged, and being part of the community. So well-being and kind of looking at those through those lens is really kind of what I can bring forward.
Councilor Johnson-elect is, of course, a at-large councilor. Councilor Diane Desotelle is a 2nd District Councilor-elect and just happens to be in my district, so I'm going to listen real closely to what you say here. But if you could elaborate on that too, what do you think that in your new role as a council person and also as a council in large and the whole group, can the city do to attract more business or nurture the ones that are here?
Exactly. I think, you know, we have to think about what the role of city government is, and one of the roles is permitting and zoning and making sure those processes are well connected, and communication is really key. And I tend to be an over-communicator rather than an under-communicator. I think that the city needs to have more working groups that work across our private sectors, the Chamber, Apex, some of the other groups that are really working on economic development, and making sure we're talking more often. And on top of that, as we're talking within each other and thinking about new economies and new industries that want to come into town and are interested, we need to be working on the housing and the child care issue. And at the same time, we need to be talking to our communities and informing them as much as we can about what we know when we know it as we go, instead of having any last-minute items come up. Because moving forward is really going to be crucial, and this is a community of folks that just want to stay engaged and want to understand. I'm excited about some of the new possibilities of economies moving in, related to renewable energy because climate's going to be important, related to new technologies such as robotics. I've talked to folks at Apex and the council, the chamber, about there's a lot of folks that are interested in coming here and expanding. What we need to do is focus on the housing from a city's perspective.
Those are all very good points, and of course there is some work to be done, but Duluth also has a big base of good things that are already here. And I'm going to ask each one of our councilors for just one good example of, if you're talking to a business leader and you're promoting Duluth as a place to expand, what's the topic number one that you would point out? And I'll start with you, Councilor-elect Jordon.
I think, wow.
I know it's a tough question.
It's a tough question. But I think one thing that Duluth really offers is we have a phenomenal outdoor kind of recreational kind of component that attracts many people to our area. I think also we're a union town. And so we have a lot of focus around supporting our unions and supporting our workers and workforce. And so if we can elevate kind of thinking through how do we build upon the climate resiliency opportunities here, we can really foster a really robust economy moving forward.
Thank you very much for that. Now, to help you both plan for your new role on the City Council, we talked with Duluth City Clerk Alyssa Denham about the onboarding process for new councilors such as the two of you.
I am Alyssa Denham, and I am the city clerk for the city of Duluth. When a new city councilor is elected, we in our office reach out to them. We get their contact information to get them access to the building, get them a parking pass. We then set up a orientation with each councilor where they will meet IT, attorneys, they'll talk to our office. The mayor will welcome them. We'll walk through chambers and we'll kind of walk through a normal meeting, teach them the technology, and give them opportunity to answer questions.
I did ask Alyssa if there was a secret handshake or some kind of initiation, and she said, I can't tell you. So I go to you now, councilors. How does it make you feel to be newly elected? How do you feel about your new role? How do you feel? Start with you, sir.
I'm excited. I'm excited to be part of a city council. I think we have a really dynamic council with different perspectives, and I think through that we can kind of generate some great ideas, foster some kind of relationships, and build relationships with businesses and local leaders in our community. So I look forward to it, even when it can be a trying time. I think for me, it's also about, again, what's the possibility ahead, and it's the frame of mind that I'm going into it that I'm really excited to kind of foster for the future generations ahead.
Councilor-elect Desotelle, how do you feel about that?
Well, I'm absolutely honored at the turnout and the folks that voted me into District 2, and I'm excited to start. There are areas you have more to learn about than others, but I can say I come in skipping a little bit because I have worked with the city. I was the first natural resources coordinator, and so I understand policy, I understand planning, and those processes well, and that's going to help kickstart me. You know, the goal of really trying to bring folks together around the table with the expertise and knowledge so that we can really listen and learn and come up with solutions together as a whole council. I'm excited to work with a council that has a lot of areas of expertise and building that trust and relationship so that we can solve problems together.
Thank you very much, Councilor Desotelle, and also Councilor Johnson, and of course, Dr. Cindy Rugeley. Thank you all for being with us. With new leaders in place, local businesses may see changes in priorities and policies, but let's shift gears and explore some of the fun election history from yesterday. Thanks again to our guests for sharing their thoughts about the most recent election and what it means for businesses that are affected by the decisions our government at all levels make. It's interesting that in this off-year election, voter turnout has continued to increase. This shows a growing interest in the job governments do and the people we entrust to do that work. We know that elections have consequences, and some of them are totally unexpected, like being able to buy alcohol on Election Day. Back in the day in Minnesota, it was illegal to buy a drink on Election Day until after the polls closed at 8 o'clock. I can tell you, the lines formed at 7:45. This is, by the way, the 40th anniversary of a law passed in 1985 that opened up bars and liquor stores on Election Day. South Carolina held on to its no booze on Election Day law until 2014, reversing a ban that began in 1882. And until recently, Kentucky was another holdout statewide, though some counties in the Bluegrass State and elsewhere down south are still dry all the time, like Moore County in Tennessee. Ironically, that's the home of the Jack Daniel's distillery. But it always wasn't that way. Drinking on Election Day was once encouraged. In fact, it was a campaign tradition. In 1755, a Virginia man ran for the House of Burgesses. The House was the best representation we got in the days of British rule. He lost on his first try and made a mental note that he hadn't given away enough free booze to win. So in 1758, when he tried again, he spent 39 pounds sterling, that's about 50 bucks, the entire cost of his campaign, by the way, to buy 160 gallons of wine and liquor, and this time he won. That was George Washington's very first election victory. Why do we vote on the second Tuesday of November? Well, let's start with why November? Well, back then, America was an agrarian society, and November was the least busy month on the farm. Then why Tuesday? Back then, voting was done at the county seat. This meant that some of the white male landowners who had the right to vote would have to travel some distance to exercise their franchise. For many, it would mean traveling on Sunday, ignoring the Sabbath. So voting on Tuesday meant that you could go to church on Sunday and travel on Monday. The second Tuesday was because another reason for business owners. You know, that first week of a new month meant that a business owner was settling the accounts from the previous month. The Constitution spells out it is the right of each state to set its own rules for voting. Most of the states had land ownership as a determining factor as to whether or not you could vote. However, right from the start in 1776, New Jersey allowed women to vote, if they too owned at least 50 pounds worth of land. That meant wealthy women, mostly widows, could vote. The law was repealed in 1807, and women were forced to wait over 100 years to vote again in New Jersey. Women's suffrage began with a convention in 1849. The 19th Amendment, giving women the right to vote, was still 71 years in the future in 1920. In 1869, Wyoming, in an effort to attract more settlers, allowed women to vote. It was a huge controversy in 1890 when Wyoming asked for statehood, because by then there was now a national ban on women voting. There was a huge pushback against joining the Union, and Wyoming almost passed on being the 44th state to allow women to vote. During Reconstruction following the Civil War, African Americans were given the franchise, but only for men. The 15th Amendment, though, was quickly corrupted with a myriad of laws resulting in voter suppression. Many states, and you know who you are, enacted requirements for literacy, property ownership, and prohibitive poll taxes. The 24th Amendment in 1964 was supposed to put an end to those specifics. But some new tactics are being explored that critics claim are just updated versions of Jim Crow-era laws and voter suppression. One last Election Day quirk. Thanks to the then governor of Texas and future President George W. Bush, it is legal to vote from outer space. A law was passed in 1997, and it allows astronauts to vote from outer space. It is the ultimate absentee ballot and would also cover E.T., Yoda, Vote I Must, Captain Kirk, and the entire cast of Avatar. The most important thing about Election Day laws is that we have the right to vote. Think of all the drastic changes this country has been through. Every one of them was either caused by voting or repaired by voting. Freedom is one person, one vote. A nation voting is freedom for all. This is In Business with Almanac North. Before we wrap up tonight in business, it's time to take a quick look at some of the top business stories making headlines across our region this week. First, in Duluth, Spectrum has donated $5,000 to the Duluth Honor Guard, the 54-member volunteer group that performs military funeral honors, flag presentations, and other ceremonies for veterans. The support will help cover their uniforms, transport, and other costs. Especially important since government stipends for military funerals were discontinued in 2023. In Cloquet, Kraus Anderson Construction has broken ground on a new $18.9 million fire and ambulance headquarters for the Cloquet Area Fire District. The 35,700 square foot facility will feature 8-stall apparatus bay, offices, dormitories, a training tower, and a fitness room. Construction is expected to be completed by December of 2026. In Minnesota, manufacturers are raising concerns about the state's business climate. A 2025 Enterprise Minnesota survey found that many businesses are struggling with paid family and medical leave, rising costs, and uncertainty around taxes and tariffs. Workforce challenges remain high in the Duluth area and across the Iron Range, with many manufacturers reporting difficulty attracting and retaining skilled employees. And a new federal bill will shake up Minnesota's emergency hemp-derived THC market. The funding legislation includes provisions that will effectively ban many low-dose THC products, including edibles and beverages. Businesses say this could disrupt supply chains, force retailers to pull products from their shelves, and threaten millions in tax revenue. Small processors, breweries, and retailers could be hit particularly hard. The THC measure was part of the bill that reopened the federal government. It doesn't take effect until 2027, and lawmakers are now lining up, especially here in Minnesota, to strike down the provision. I'm Ken Bueller. Thanks for watching In Business with Almanac North. If you missed any parts of tonight's show, you can always watch at pbs.org or listen on Mondays at 5:30 p.m. on the North 103.3. We'll see you next time. And in the meanwhile, let's take care of each other.